This is Bait to the Plate.
It's still dark as we head out of the Rigolets Marina in Slidell, Louisiana with Captain John Falterman, Jr.
Today, it looks like the weather's going to be out of the way. They were calling for some 15, 20 mile an hour winds this morning, and winds out the southeast. Looks like the wind is out the southeast. It was kind of calm this morning. Hopefully we just get a good jump out there before the wind starts really blowing and get on some fish.
Dawn comes quickly, so does our first stop. On board today is Chef Frank Brigtsen, along with his wife Marna. They own and operate Brigtsen's restaurant uptown and Charlie's Seafood in River Ridge. They're both avid fishermen.
Wireless trawling motor. Never leave home without it.
So just kind of tell us where we are briefly.
We're actually about midway to halfway on the other side of the South Shore on the old twin span. No longer being used for cars, but used a lot by fishermen. This area holds a lot of fish. The new bridges always have fish on them. The old bridges, it's like an old tradition. You just can't get away from them, you know. So we'll start here and we'll do what we need to do to get the fish in the boat.
Fought harder, but he's a little smaller.
John will fulfill his obligation as captain and measure him to see if he meets the 12-inch minimum.
Right about 11 and a half.
Not a problem. Soon there's trout. Take two. And this one's a keeper.
That's 13-inch. Either which way you measure it, right? Look at that, D.
Sadly, this spot doesn't measure up, so Captain John decides to move us to a well-known spot. The Trestles Bridge is the oldest one across Lake Pontchartrain. It's long been a reliable spot for fishermen. The reason? Maybe it's the century-old foundation, or the sound of the approaching train's whistle, or the vibration of the tracks that permeates down to the lake below. Whatever the reason, the fish seem to always stir awake, and it seems to have worked for us. Marna has caught her first fish, but it's pulling a little harder than a young trout. As it surfaces, the striped markings give away its identity.
Puppy drum.
Puppy drum. Early in the morning.
Puppy drum. Now that's an interesting name for a delicious fish.
Go ahead and add him to the box.
That feels like a nice speckled trout there, Cap.
I think it is. That's a beauty. And put him in the net right there. How's that sound?
That's dinner. Big fat girl trout.
Actually, it's a male.
Is it?
Feel its belly.
Oh yeah.
Come. Feel it?
Boom, 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 boom.
Bump, 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 bump.
Talking to you.
Feel the croaking sound. It's definitely the males. Males have a tendency to do that. Good old Pontchartrain, Lake Pontchartrain speckled trout, caught by Mr. Frank.
Now 2 of us can eat tonight. We got a great recipe for that.
But we'll get it done, I promise you.
A cornmeal and mustard batter trout with a ravagote sauce. We eat good tonight.
Woohoo, all right.
Another one on. One on right here. Turn around, look at Mr. Frank. Mr. Frank's got one on too. Nice one.
Little speckled spotted sea trout.
Another beautiful trout.
Beautiful purple color on
That's what they get for saying that only 2 of them we're going to eat tonight. Now we have 5. We can feed somebody.
We'll have a buffet before this is all over. Nobody goes hungry.
Another good fighter, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, beautiful. Look at that trout. Come get you some of that. Yellowmouth. Only in Louisiana.
Up next on Bait to the Plate.
Hi, this is Frank Brigtsen at Brigtsen's Restaurant in Uptown New Orleans. Today we're going to be preparing for you speckled trout ravagote.
That's next on Bait to the Plate.
All right, one of my best secrets for getting great fish is make friends with your neighbors that have a boat. Make sure you catch them on the way back, and hopefully they'll give you some nice fresh fish, and you're going to be eating some good Louisiana seafood.
This is Bait to the Plate.
This is Frank Brigtsen at Brigtsen's Restaurant on Dante Street in the Riverbend neighborhood of uptown New Orleans. And today we're going to prepare for you Trout Ravigote, made with fried speckled trout. The first thing we're going to do is make Ravagote sauce. So we're going to start with 1 egg yolk. And to this egg yolk, we're going to add some flavors and seasonings. We're going to start with some lemon juice, some salt, and Coleman's dry mustard powder, which is a great seasoning in mayonnaise. We're also going to add some Zatarain's Creole mustard, a little bit of prepared horseradish, giving a little bit of bite, some good old Tabasco sauce, a couple of drops of that. And from here, we're going to build up our mayonnaise. So I'm going to whisk and slowly add this oil, and we should wind up with a nice fluffy mayonnaise. Okay, so as you can see, we have transformed that cup of oil into a nice light fluffy mayonnaise sauce. Mayonnaise is truly one of the great sauces of French cuisine. Now, to further flavor the Ravigote sauce, we're going to add a pretty healthy dose of Lea and Perrins, grated hard-boiled egg, thinly sliced green onions, and some very finely diced bell pepper. I have red and green today. You can use any color you like. And you can see now you have a very colorful, flavorful, chilled mayonnaise sauce to serve with your fried speckled trout. Now we're going to prepare our fried speckled trout. So the first thing we're going to do is make our wet batter. We're going to start with a couple of eggs, and we're going to whisk the eggs very frothy. And then we're going to add some yellow mustard, some Zatarain's Creole mustard, and we'll whisk that together, and that'll make a nice tangy wet batter. To that, we're going to add some milk. That's our wet batter. So you have eggs, milk, and 2 kinds of mustard. This is equal parts yellow cornmeal, yellow corn flour, and all-purpose white flour. And to that I'm going to add a pre-measured amount of seafood seasoning blend. And this makes our dry batter. We'll put this into a battering pan. So we have wet batter and dry batter. By dropping a little flour into the oil, that the flour is starting to bubble up a little bit. And that'll be perfect for pan frying. And then we can batter the trout. So here I have some Louisiana speckled trout fillets, totally boneless, and I've cut the fillets into half so that we have smaller pieces. I'm going to season the fish end to end lightly and evenly with seafood seasoning, both sides, so that every bite's the same. And then we're going to batter our fish, first in the wet batter, and then into the dry batter. Remember to have a wet hand and a dry hand, and that way you don't batter your hand. And once the fish is battered, it goes directly into the skillet. Don't let it sit in the dry batter. So you want a nice, light, thin, crispy coating. Our speckled trout is in the hot oil, and you can see that we're pan frying, not deep frying. It's very important in that method that the oil just comes up the side of the fish without going over. If the oil goes over the top of the fish, it will cool off and be absorbed by the batter, and you'll have oily fried fish. And again, we're only going to turn this fish one time, so what I'm looking for is a nice crispy edge around all the fillets. And this temperature seems just right. You want to kind of spread them out a little bit so that it has an opportunity to breathe a little bit, as we say, and that enables you to get a nice crust on the bottom of the fish. So now the speckled trout is ready to be turned. And I'm going to very carefully lift it up and use the side of the skillet to turn the fish so that I don't splash. That way you're not putting your hands into the hot skillet and have the opportunity to burn yourself. You can see a nice golden brown crust, nice, crispy, dry, not oily. We catch so much speckled trout in Louisiana, we're always looking for new ways to cook it. And this is a great way to make fried trout like you've never had before. So this will be about 2 to 3 minutes on the second side. We're so blessed here in Louisiana. We catch a lot of speckled trout, and it's our #1 game fish. And we're always looking for new ways and different ways to cook speckled trout. I think speckled trout is best fried. So if you can try a different, unusual kind of batter like this mustard and cornmeal batter, you'll have more excitement on your fish fries. All right, I think our speckled trout is done. So I'm going to lift them out and turn them onto a drain pan. Let the fish sit for a minute and then turn it so that all the oil drains off. Beautiful. Beautiful, nice and crispy. You can tell if you have crispy fish if you can stand it up. So now to serve our speckled trout, we're going to make a little triangle with the 3 fish fillets, and then we'll top that with some of our ravagote sauce. And then we'll finish the dish by garnishing with some sweet grape tomatoes. And there you have it. Speckled Trout Ravigote from Brigtsen's restaurant in Uptown New Orleans.
Brigtsen's recipe for trout ravigote and other recipes featured on the show can be found by visiting our website, baittotheplate.com.